Okay, we are continuing our proportionality relationships. This lesson really gets into our equation of proportionality, which again is, so we have our equation of proportionality, which is y is equal to k times x. Remember, x being the input value and y being the output value. We've been looking at our k value over the past lessons, but this lesson really defines it for us and helps us figure out how to find it for every situation. Okay, so our first example deals with our deer population in a particular national forest. Okay, so it says that the wild conservationists are concerned that the deer population may not be constant across a national forest. The scientists found that there were 144 deer in a 16 square mile area of the forest. In another part of the forest, conservationists counted 117 deer in 13 square mile area. Yet another conservationist counted 216 deer in a 24 square mile plot of the forest. All right, do conservationists need to be worried? So the first question is, well, why does this matter? So why does it matter that the deer population is not constant in a certain area of the national forest? Well, we think to ourselves and think in terms of science, like, are we sure that we're going to have deer in the incoming years? All right, and the number of deer per square mile is going to impact that. If there aren't any deer to mate, then we won't have any offspring. So that's just something to think about. Okay, so it's asking now, what is a population of deer per square mile? All right, your indicator words here are per square mile. You should automatically think to yourself, well, what do you think you should think to yourself? Yeah, unit rate is correct. So this tells us unit rate. We've been looking at finding unit rates to help with determining proportionality. All right, so seeing that there's a per square mile in there, that is our unit rate. Okay, or it indicates unit rate. Our units then are, let me highlight the rest of this. You should think to yourself, oh, this tells me that it's deer to square mile. That's our order of units. Okay, and so you should think to yourself, oh, how can I find how many deer there are per square mile? All right, well, since we're dealing with our x and y's, you should know that we're going to put a table together. All right, so our x and our y. Okay, in our situations before, we've always had our x on this side and y on this side. Okay, that's the arrangement that we've had. All right, so we should put our square miles on our x side, and the y value should have the number of deer. So the first piece of information that we have is that it's 16 square miles and 144 deer. Then we have 13 square miles and 117 deer. All right, and then we have 24 square miles and 216 deer. All right, so that's how we would set up our table given this information, and that information can be found up here. Okay, that's where I got that information. Okay, so you should be able to find the unit rate. Go ahead and pause this video and find the unit rate on your own. Okay, welcome back. So you should have found that our unit rate per 1 square mile is 9. Okay, and so then our constant of proportionality, we're using that K, is equal to 9. All right, and the meaning of this constant of proportionality is that there are 9 deer per square mile. Okay. You should have been able to see that. That's what we've been working on up until this point. So, again, what we've done is we're checking to see that we can multiply all of our x values by the same number to get our corresponding y values. And so the way that you would do that is you would say 114 deer in 16 square miles. We divide by 16 to get our, this is our per square mile. Divide this by 16 and you should have gotten 9. Alright. Okay. Notice that we did take our y values and we divided by x to get our constant of proportionality. So, to find the constant of proportionality, we just take our y and divide them by our x. Okay? And we can use that unit rate. That'll give us our unit rate. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay? So this is going to be our unit rate. And you should see that because we've been doing division to get what we need to multiply things by. Alright? So you should be able to use the unit rate to determine how many deer you could find in a 207 square mile area. Alright, so I'm going to let you guys do that on your own. And then you can also use that to find 486 deer. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. Let's go ahead and pause again. Welcome back. Alright, you should be able to see that it's 9 deer per square mile. So our ratio from that would be 9 over 1, or 9 to 1 if you like the ratio, or the colon form. We know that miles is going to be on the bottom, or square miles rather, and we know that deer is going to be on top. Okay, so we need to find an equivalent ratio where we have our 200 square miles is going to, we're turning this ratio into. Alright, so we're going to put 207 on the bottom. We know that we need to multiply by 207 to get 207 square miles. So we need to multiply the top as well, the numerator. So we're going to take 207, multiply by 9. Alright. 54 plus 6 is 60, 18, 24. So we see that we get 2,403 deer in 207 square miles. So this would be our answer. Okay, so 2,403 deer in 207 square miles. Okay. The next one is looking at how many square miles would you find 486 deer. So instead of multiplying the denominator, we're now going to multiply the numerator. Alright, so we're still going to use our unit rate, which is 9 to 1. And we see that up from C that deer is going to be on the top and square miles will be on the bottom. So we're going to make an equivalent ratio where there's 486 deer, and this is our unknown. Okay? So we need to determine, well, 486 divided by 9, right? We need to figure out how do we get there. So 486 divided by 9. We're going to take 54, and that goes here. And our unit is square miles. So that's our answer. So 54 square miles. Okay, so this tells us that there are 486 deer. If we look, or if we were to take a 54 square miles square or area. All right. Okay. So you've seen in the past that we're working with a lot of unknowns, right? So when we're trying to find up here, when we're trying to find the number of square miles and the number of deer you would find, we're working with unknowns. Well, in the past you've learned that variable, okay, is what we take place of the unknown. Okay, it's a placeholder for a number. So instead of having that question mark like I put in before, we would use X, or not X, we would use a placeholder or a letter to help us just have a placeholder for that. Okay, so you can try to incorporate that into your problems. If you can't figure that out, that's fine. Just use that question mark for unknowns. But go ahead and try to work on the examples for today. So we have example 2 where it talks about baking cookies. All right. Example 3, it talks about cooking. So go ahead and work on those two for the rest of the period. Make your tables. Try and find the unit rates. And then for homework, try to work on your problem sets. Okay? All right, have fun.